All right, everyone. Welcome again to the Faces of Business. I am your host, Damon Pistolka, and I am so excited for our guest today because we have Mr. Pete Armstrong with us today, and we're going to be talking about success without sacrifice, building a life that feels whole. Pete, my friend, welcome.
Gosh, I'm blessed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So much fun to have you on, dude. Because we've met a long time ago. You've been on the show before, repeat offender. So appreciative of you wanting to come back. But really, and I don't know how much you know about this, and I think we've talked about a little, but you really, your mission, your message to men connected with me so deeply when we first met that it really was something because, and you're going to talk about it more today, but there's a lot of high performing men out there that are just suffering.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. This is true.
And talking
Silently
today,
too.
what's that?
Silently.
Oh, silently. Oh yeah. Most silently, I think, because they think it's normal. And, so today we're talking about success without sacrifice and building a life that feels whole. And Pete, like we always like to start out, tell us a little bit about how you got into doing what you're doing and how you're helping people today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me talk about this. I'm glad that my mission and what I care about and what I believe in resonates with you, man. I can tell you this, man. I feel comfortable being with you, man. Like I hope someday I can meet you and be with you. And you just got done sharing this beautiful story about how when you walk on the beach, outside of Seattle and during low tide, I want to experience that with you someday now. Like there's something about you, man, that I'm grateful that I know you. Okay. So I just want you to know that.
Thank you.
I can't, this is me feeling.
Yeah.
I don't have the words, but I can feel. Okay, this is what I try to help men do. Is I'm helping. I feel like we have a connection,
Yeah.
and if we were together, we would just be together and enjoy nature and talk
Yep.
about things. Right? Hence
Yep.
why we're here today. And so I just want to share that. So thank you. And then also, yeah, I think the cliff notes is that for the majority of my life, I did struggle with not feeling enough, kind of not feeling like I belonged. Um, Kind of like an outsider, stuff of that nature. And but I still, found a way to be the life of the party. I was the funny guy. I was the happy one. I was the one that got everyone to do the silly things. I was the one that got people to let's go cliff jumping. Let's go on a trip. Let's go on a bike group bike ride. Like I'm that kind of guy. But in many ways, I was silently struggling, you know.
Yeah.
And in many ways that way I coped through being funny and silly and always being social was one way for me to cope with what I was feeling inside. And I got therapy and coaching and learning, and I took alcohol out of my life, and I got training in mental fitness and training in trauma. So helping trauma, what I mean by that is essentially trauma are these emotional wounds, these experiences in childhood that in many ways shaped us,
Mm-hmm.
that root of our pain. I am trained in that. So I'm trained in the root level things that men struggle with. I'm trained in that because at the end of the day, what I found in my own journey is like therapy was kind of helped me, coaching kind of helped me. But what I found to help me the most was this deeper trauma informed root level
Mm-hmm.
approach. And my coach, I got my coach slash mentor, Tommy Walker. I worked with him for 18 months. He helped me heal, helped me. I'm going to say it this way: help me love myself.
Yep.
I didn't know I didn't love myself. I didn't know. So when a man says or someone says like I don't feel like I'm enough, I feel like there's something missing.
Yeah.
That's shame, man. That's that not enoughness, that hole. The only way to fill that is through love and acceptance. And I
Yeah.
learned that through, and I know I'm talking about it in a woo-woo way maybe, but I want to be very clear. Love and acceptance, this is the way of a lot of spiritual wisdom.
Yeah.
Think about Christianity, you think about Buddhism, you think about Hinduism. They're all talking about love and acceptance.
Yeah.
And so what I realized is when I got that help, it changed my life. My relationships with my kids were better. I was less angry.
Yep.
I was more empathetic. I didn't need unhealthy coping mechanisms as much, like alcohol or
Yep.
pornography, or even striving. I still had this edge to I have my own business. I'm a high achiever. I love achieving. I love being myself and growing to my edge, but I'm not doing it because when I stop, I feel alone, lonely, and not enough. I'm doing it because I want to save the world, man.
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Like I used to do these things because it was a coping mechanism. Like I was striving to help myself feel better about myself, so that when I
Yeah.
walked into a room, I can be like, I got a master's. I got a $15 million program. I got 15 people under me. I live in this neighborhood. It helped me. It really helped me feel better about myself. But I don't know about you if you ever felt that way. It doesn't really work forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into this work, my own struggle, and honestly, and then I was like, after I started changing, I was like, I gotta help men. I gotta help other high achieving dads become better fathers and really take success in the career and business, and let's move into success at home. Because I don't know about you, man, but like if home life isn't right, you can do your best job at compartmentalizing. But I know for me, man, it's like I know it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I hide it with work and whatever, and or numb it with alcohol back in the day or whatever, man. Like what you resist persists. You know. So
Yep.
that's how I got into this, and now I'm helping men. Some of my clients. I got a client who, $15 million business. He's got 60 people under him. It's in a. He's actually exiting his company now.
Mm-hmm.
I actually helped him get there because he was afraid in many ways. Like, who am I going to become? If I exit my company, who am I going to become? Right. And so I had to coach him on this deeper mindset coaching and help him finally believe and understand his emotions, including
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
Fear of what's going to happen. Like what's going to happen and he has the money, he has the capital, he's got the wealth. That's fine. But
Yeah.
what he didn't have is, at the end of the day, belief in himself, And so, yeah, I help business owners and I help men in leadership really learn relationship skills and well-being skills so they can be, to put it simply, happier and have better relationships, in particular at home.
Yeah. Well, because I think, and some of this is from personal experience, like you said, you can be a high achiever in your profession. And as soon as you shut that off and you go into your personal life, alcohol, any other bad habit you can think of that really doesn't trying to cope with the fact that you don't really feel like you're enough takes
Mm-hmm.
over. And
Mm-hmm.
and then when you're trying to do or you're going home to a family at night, the stress is high because you don't, you're always, it's in stress. Like you said, I understand what you're saying now about after doing that, because myself, I'm more in a place like that.
Mm-hmm.
You want to achieve, you want to do well, but it's not who you are. And if you don't do that, it's not going to make you less of a person. It's not going to,
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that we get stuck with when they're in that phase. But man, it is such a rough life to live.
Well, think about it from the simplicity of it. It is a rough life to live because I'm going to say this in two ways, but one way is, can you think about it? You're telling yourself in many ways, and we don't do this intentionally. This is all subconscious.
Yeah.
A lot of men don't realize they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
Or they can't figure out how to shut it off.
Yes.
Like this client in question, he's like, I'm like, why do you? He's like, I need help. I can't I can't sit down and watch a movie with my kids and my wife. I always have to be multitasking. And we start coaching on this over a couple of months. And what came to fruition, or what came to discover, was when he slows down, he doesn't feel enough. So no shit why you're multitasking.
Yeah.
No one wants to feel that pain.
Yes.
We will do anything. And I say that with that emphasis. We will do anything to not feel that pain, because to not feel enough is, to me, in many ways, it's like the opposite of feeling loved and accepted.
Yes. Yes.
And, you know, you could call it respected. Some men call it, I want to be respected. I want to be, you know, cared for. I want, you know, all these things, right? But like at the end of the day, it's love and acceptance. And the second way I'll say it is this. Oh, I mean, by the way, think about this. If you tell yourself, hey, you're not enough, man, if you unless you get X, Y, and Z done every night at home. Yeah, that's stressful, because you're telling yourself you're not good enough unless you get this thing done. So guess what that does? That creates fear.
Yeah.
It's motivation. Amen. You get some results, but that fear is what creates chronic stress. And chronic stress creates disease, and disease kills.
Yeah.
So this stuff's all connected. And I'm going to say it one more way. Would you tell your child, your little daughter, your son, hey, you're not enough to me unless you achieve X, Y, and Z? When I talk to guys like that, or what would you do if your daughter or your son came to you sad, lonely, afraid? What would you do for him?
You want to help them.
I want to help them.
Yeah.
You know what they often say, man? And these are men that are, I would say, in the beginning of working with me, they're not fully emotionally aware. And not putting them down. That's why they come to me.
Yeah.
Right? They're like,
yeah, exactly.
I want fucking skills, man. I want to be fit. I want to be emotionally fit. And they say to me, you know what they noticed? They'd like, I would have given them a hug. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
They know, intuit. They know that this is probably what I need to do, is give my kid a hug. And I'm like, that's what we need to start doing for yourself.
Yep.
And they're like, huh.
Well, we don't think about that.
Well, no, because we weren't programmed that way. We weren't taught. We were taught to not to have emotions, man.
Yeah.
This is real. I'm reading this book. It's an amazing book. It's called The Emotional Life of Our Brain. It's written by Richie Davidson, and he's a world-renowned neuroscientist here at UW, University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Yeah.
He's done work with the Dalai Lama. And in his book, he was telling a little bit of the story about psychology and neuroscience that really, honestly, man, only within the last like 30, 40 years, don't exact quote me, but roughly 30 to 40 years, and maybe even less than that, did we realize how important emotions were for humans. So think about that. I mean, think about that from anything, like anything that's only 30 years new or old. It takes time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
that's not very long.
Yeah, no, not at all. And the reason why, part of the reason why I'm saying that, man, is because, listen, man, there's a lot of men who don't struggle with alcohol, but the biggest thing they're attached to, or let's call it addicted to, is the work piece. And that's a real struggle, man, because in many ways you're rewarded for that in a financial wealth standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of guys, it makes sense to keep doing it. And I love those guys. I love the guys that have that you know, career or business success or financial wealth, but they don't have the, you know, the wealth, the social wealth, the wealth of well-being, and the wealth of family wealth, and the wealth of happiness. That's what I love the most, man.
Yeah.
Because they've already seen it. They already know what it's like.
Yes. Well, because you're right, because you can sit there and you can have all those things, the monetary wealth, the title, with the, you know, business, whatever you have. But when that light shuts off on the door and you walk out, if you don't have the life beyond that, it's a pretty empty place to be. And it really, and we, men sometimes just get used to that. They just think, well, this is part of it. I can remember this is decades ago, but when I was working with investors and running companies for them, it was pretty much, if you were an executive in an operating company, you probably would be divorced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I remember you sharing this. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things that was kind of an accepted norm that's probably was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And these kind of things, like you're saying, that's 30 years ago, probably, when I first heard that, but we didn't think about how much that is costing us over the years, and how much that our minds, because that's almost, for men, this, like you're saying, the professional success, we're not professionally success, how that affects our minds, and how that affects so many other decisions that we make, like subconsciously, right? The decision, well, I've got something important that's, quote, important at work, but it's my daughter's softball game, recital, whatever. What am I going to do? Well, the person with the mindset I talked about is probably not going to make it. They're going to make an excuse. They're not going to make it. Well, 10 events into that affects the family. And it's just
the child. It affects the child.
It affects the family. It
Yeah.
affects your marriage. If you're married, it affects, just everything. And
your generations.
Yes. And
really, it affects literally your family lineage.
Because if you've got children in that, they expect that, and they think that's how it is. That's why I think one of the reasons I connect so much with what you do, because you're breaking the cycle. This is a cycle of, we, at all costs, and most of that cost is our children and our family, we're going to go out and try to do that. We're going to, men are going to go out and try to make their way in the world and provide. Well, the difference between here providing and there providing, in those situations, while some of the success and money can help you, there's a certain point when that just doesn't matter anymore.
Well, yeah, and I think one of the things I love to do is I love to help men. Men love to learn. They like to know why. Like, if I tell you to go do X, they're like, "Yeah, well, why?" Like, tell me more about love and acceptance, right? And I can't just tell them that. I have to help them experience it.
Yes.
But what I was going to say too, and what men, if men knew more about child development, like if they understood how a child's mind develops and works, if they understood like attachment science more often, and these things, if they could understand what it is to make a healthy human being, a well-being, I know men would start to prioritize their children. Because do you know how many men sit on that couch, man, and say to me, "You know what, man? They don't. It's not always conscious. After coaching, deeper coaching, you know what they say to me, man? I just wish my dad would spend more time with me." I'm not bullshitting you, man. That is a common theme amongst high achieving men. They really, at the end of the day, they have deep grief and sadness that their dad didn't spend enough time with them. And I'll stop here, but what happens in a child often is if your dad won't spend time with you, right? Think about the story they tell to themselves. And this is real, and this stuff does happen, and you could say, well, they shouldn't think that. Unfortunately, that's not the way the child's mind works.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's not the way that human beings work. We are based on connection.
Yes.
And so I think, honestly, if men started, I think there needs to be like a huge thing, like if men knew more about why they struggle with their stuff, but they also understood why their kids are struggling and what's going to happen to them if they don't have a relationship with them. I think more men would be doing this work, the work that I'm doing, because when men work with me, they're like, Pete, man, you literally are, you're the ripple, man. Like, you're the rock, I'm the next ripple.
Yeah.
This is how two clients said this to me. Pete, you're the rock, I'm the next ripple. My wife, my kids, and he keeps going. You are, and I'm like, because I was having lunch with one of my old clients 2 months ago, and he asked me a question, and it wasn't firm and with fervor that I believed in myself, like in my business and what I'm doing. And he looked at me with like a tear in his eye, and he told me that story. He's like, "Do you know what you've done?" And I was just like, I mean, I started crying because I was like, I was joyful, but I was also sad at the same time. That, like, I was joyful that I helped him, but I was also sad that in some way, shape, or form, there are times that I don't. Are men ready for this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, are they ready for this? Can this be what I believe it can be? You know, because there's a hurdle. There's a hurdle to this work.
Yeah. I think I think people are ready for it. They may just have to ease into it a little bit. But I think, and you can tell me more about this. Then let's talk about the results that, men see when they're working with you, because one of the things that I'd like to cover a little bit today is a couple things. How do we break out of these habits? I mean, because these are habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're habits. They were ingrained when we were young. We thought we learned this, but how do we begin to step out of that?
Awareness.
Okay.
Awareness is the gateway to positive change.
There we go.
I mean, in my opinion, you look at this, you come at it with curiosity and empathy and compassion. You know, it doesn't. I mean, honestly, man, Damon, if you ask about your past drinking or my past drinking, and I'm just using drinking. You know, it doesn't matter what the thing is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, but that one's like an easy one. But I also don't like using it because I think people shut off when they're like, "Oh, I don't have a drinking problem." It doesn't matter, whatever, let's just call it this, whatever undesired behavior or undesired habit you have, the best thing you could do is get awareness on what is the value that thing, that habit, that behavior is providing you. And I talk to men about this with like alcohol or whatever. Let's just use alcohol. Talk to them about alcohol or even pornography or
It's social media. It's
social media. Yeah, that's a great one. Sitting on the phone. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Social media. Like, what's it providing? They're like, absolutely nothing. It's just so stupid. I don't know, man. It's just there's nothing. It doesn't provide me any value. And I'm like, what's it helping you with?
Yeah.
And I shut up. and almost always what they say is it's an escape.
It's what?
It's an escape.
Oh yeah.
And I think about if we're going to escape from something, why would you escape from something?
Yeah, it's because you don't want to. You're not comfortable where you want to be, where you are right now.
100%.
Yeah.
And often that place is in here.
Yeah. Because that's one of my notes for this is this is really starts and ends in our minds, and then the habits break out of this as soon as we, like you said, the awareness, and really look at the things we're doing, as you said, with awareness, and going, what is that really doing, and why? And then if we can come back into, okay, let's replace that with something that actually moves me in the direction I want to, rather than just gets me out of where I don't want to be.
Correct. It's a beautiful way of putting it. Like, can we find a healthy way, unhealthy way? But another thing is this too. Sometimes you can actually, the work that I do, you can actually sometimes eliminate that thing almost entirely, because your emotional state is indeed largely influenced by your beliefs. Okay, so let's just say whatever your belief is in a given moment, that's going to elicit an emotion. And so let's just say it's like, oh, I don't feel good enough today, right? That's going to elicit some sort of emotion of sadness or fear. And if you don't want to feel that, dude, I want to escape from that feeling. I'm going to go on the phone, right? I'm going to go and multitask around the house. I'm going to go pull weeds and my kids are sitting there doing nothing in their house. Like that's the stuff that men like don't realize. It's like, if you could understand how you feel about yourself and what you believe, this is important. We need to find out what we believe about ourselves that we don't know we believe about ourselves.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, because you don't even realize.
Yeah.
You don't
Like,
even
right?
realize.
Like,
Yeah.
not feeling enough. I didn't know that my anger, this was in my TEDx talk. I shared this story. I didn't know that my anger, the majority of my life, was rooted in actually shame and not feeling enough and fear. But but because I felt that way, I don't know why, but anger was just like the way to like, just let it out.
Yes.
Yelling at the kids, arguing with my wife, whatever it was. But again, man, I'm going to go back, man. What does a human being need that doesn't feel enough?
Yeah.
I mean, if your kid came to you like this, how many kids do you have again?
2.
3? 2. I know they're older, right?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Still hug them every time I see them.
Yeah, I know, but right? It doesn't matter. They're 30, but usually I don't go there because we can judge humans. Humans are good at judging humans.
Yeah.
So when a little baby or a little child comes
Yeah.
to you innocent and is sad, alone, afraid, you almost always have the answer, right? And it's to care for them. And so that's exactly what we need to do for us. So in the moment of a guy, this is kind of a tip, like if you want to go, by the way, this is rooted in neuroscience and a guy named Judd Brewer. He does addiction and habits. He's on he has a podcast on Rich Roll, the Rich Roll podcast. Judd Brewer is on his podcast, and on that podcast he talks about this. But whatever undesired habit you have, try to connect with how you're feeling and the feeling emotions. What are you feeling? Not only like you can look at the feelings wheel, like I feel afraid, but what are you noticing in your body? And that's a skill. That's something we have to learn. But if you can get awareness on how you're feeling when you're about to go reach for the alcohol, when you're about to go reach for the phone, when you're about to go and do some meaningless tasks around the house because whatever, check in with yourself. How am I feeling right now?
It's a great point. It's a great tip. Yep.
And the one way to resolve that is through the breath. I think you and I, maybe last time I was on here, we did a little breathing, like the breath. The breath is a great way you can do this method called 4-2-6. It's a 4-second inhale through the nose, pause for 2 seconds, 6-second exhale. You do that 5 to 10 times before, let's just say you're going to want to go reach for the thing. Just try that. Try to interrupt the almost habit behavior by regulating your nervous system. It's crazy how it works. And it's so simple. But if you just start getting awareness and your emotional awareness and use the breath to kind of regulate those emotions and have a little compassion for yourself, you actually can change your behavior. It's insane.
Yes, it is.
And this isn't me just talking about this. This is rooted. like there's research on this, and in the mind and the emotions. And so Richie Davidson's a good person to research on this. He has a TED Talk. Jed Brewer also has a TED Talk, I believe. These are two like world-renowned researchers that
Yeah.
I like a lot.
Yep. I want to hit Random Rick Reviews dropped a comment off YouTube. Social media can help some folks find their tribe, and that may not be in their immediate area. That is, but he said it's definitely a double-edged sword. And he brought up one thing that we didn't think about: video games. I'm actually honestly, I'm glad I grew up before the video games were as popular as they were now, because I see even my younger brother-in-laws and stuff. I mean, that can eat up significant amount of time and away from your kids, basically.
100%.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing.
Yes.
What is it helping you with?
Yes.
It's helping every human with something. I mean,
Yep.
I have a video game story, man. I mean, I talk about this in my TEDx talk too, man. My son, I caught my son, he was about 16 years old, playing online video games on like a Wednesday at like midnight. I just had that inner dad,
Yeah.
like, what's going on here? I opened the upstairs door, I saw the lights on. I'm like, usually I would snap, but at this time of my life, I'm more emotionally regulated. I feel better, all these things, right? I walk up the stairs. He had his, his
Headphones on.
headphones on. He didn't even know I was coming, right? And it was a little tap on the shoulder, and he's like, he gave me the look of panic, right? And I just, so what's going on, man? What's going on, bud?
Yeah.
And I just approached him with curiosity and compassion, because I know what it's like, to do things that you don't really want to do. And you know what my son said to me? He's playing the online video games. And I can't believe he's opened up to me, and I got permission to share this story. I shared it in the TEDx talk, but like, he told me, Dad, I feel lonely, and the online gaming helps me feel connected. It helps me feel less lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I got chills. I mean, what are you going to say to that?
Yeah.
All I can do is hug him, man.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, and same with these guys who are gals, girls, kids, adults that are on video games. Yeah, it's helping with something. Obviously, it has a consequence. But dude, this is tough, man. This is pseudo connection better than no connection? And is pseudo connection getting in the way of him developing the skills to have connection? That's probably the area that I venture into with him. Like, hey, buddy, it's okay to have a little online connection. All good. And nothing replaces in-person connection, though.
Yeah.
And so it's working with him. Got him a therapist. I'm kinder with him. I'm more compassionate with him. I'm teaching him skills. And so I share that with you because, like, video games is a tough one.
Yeah, it is. So as you're helping these men work through these things and really become more aware of themselves, what are some of the results, some of the things that they are seeing? I mean, you mentioned a couple of things. I want to get into some specific things that they've dropped for you over the time you worked with them and after.
Yeah, great result. So results, a significant reduction in isolation. So what I mean by that is like shutdown. When a man, for example, it gets in a conflict with their wife, they would a fair amount of my guys would shut down,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally isolate, go do work, go on a run, resent, right? Then resentment builds. They're resenting their wife, and so there's disconnect there. And so basically, a reduction of shutting down and really at the end of the day having a reduction of conflict.
Nice.
And this is also very important. So there's a reduction of conflicts and shutdown and disconnect. But this is really important. This is really cool that a couple guys have shared with me recently. The recovery time significantly reduces too. So when there is a conflict, an argument, instead of, let's just say, 2 days of disconnect and resentment and anger, like 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like before bed. And right. And we know that that's good. That's good practice.
Yeah.
And so that's what guys tell me, like, Pete, man, I recover more quickly. They don't say recover, but the way they say it, I'm coding it as recovery. And think about it from a standpoint of physical fitness, right? Like when you're in better shape physically, you can recover more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love this concept of a mental and emotional fitness, because if you're more mentally and emotionally fit, you recover more quickly. The setbacks aren't as big of a setbacks. And this varies from person to person, but the gist is reduction in disconnect and an increase in recovery. I would say also a reduction in overworking and multitasking at home. So men are being more present. So they struggle to be present at home. I gave you one of my clients who said he's always multitasking, right? And he's been giving me so many, I just give him little attaboys, man. Every time he does this, he sat and watched a movie last week. And you know, that may sound like nothing, but for him, it was everything. He sat and watched a whole movie. And he's like, Pete, man, oh my God, it was hard. You know, like, and it sounds simple, but so helping men have less, working less, so they can take that time. It really, at the end of the day, if you think about this opportunity cost, how can you take some of that work and invest it in your relationships?
Yeah.
So I'm helping men work less and give more time to their children and to their loved ones. And really, at the end of the day, another thing that I'm helping men do is have more fun. So I have a client who he feels like he's this old school mentality. First one in the door,
Yeah.
last one out, right? Or if he is leaving early, the only way he'll give himself permission to leave early is if he isn't the first one in the door, right? And so he struggles. He struggles to go golfing on like a Friday. His other business owner buddies like, hey man, we're going golfing Friday noon. All right, man, take off. Hard for him to do.
Mm-hmm.
So helping men have more fun. Also a reduction of stress.
Yeah.
And I don't even like the word stress, to be honest with you, or an overwhelm and burnout, because it doesn't help men understand what stress is.
No.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. When you really go deep into what stress is and you understand what you're talking about today, it's made up in our minds and it's self-inflicted. It all is. It's stress, right? And when you understand that the deep layers, what you're talking about is getting someone to realize I don't have to be on all the time professionally. I don't have to, if I don't make the next sale, it's not the end of my world. If I don't do this, it's not the end of my world. And when you realize that and you come back to a knowing in, if I do everything that I can in the given time that I have, not try to go more, not try to go to my maximum, but not try to run at 110% or 120% all the time. And with a knowing that I'm going to reach my goals by doing it that way. I believe that stops a lot of stress in our life, but getting that knowing is so incredibly hard. It takes until you start practicing and practicing and practicing and realizing that. For me personally, I work so much less than I ever did, but I get so much more done now in a shorter amount of time than I ever could.
Wow, man. Amen. Amen. That's so awesome.
Yeah. And I
I mean,
think
that's
that's what, when people realize that, and it's because for me personally, I feel that I can concentrate better, because when I'm not working, I'm not working.
yeah.
That's there. And and people talk about balance. I think balance is I don't even think you should talk about it. You got to
Mhm.
integrate your life. It's one life, it's
Mhm.
one work, it's one,
Mhm.
it's all together. But when you get it to the point that you realize I've done everything I can do today, and I've given it 100%, and I'm laying it down right now, and I'm going to be with my family, or I'm going to go out and enjoy myself. Um, that gives your mind and your body that time away from it to heal, to
Yeah.
rest,
Rest.
and
Rest.
to solve problems without even thinking about them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were talking
Mm-hmm.
about going bike riding tomorrow. Myself, we talked about before. I walk lots of miles in a week.
Mm-hmm.
And so I figure, what do I walk? I walk probably 12 hours a week, at least, if not
Wow.
more, 14, 15, probably.
That's good.
But your mind might be thinking of things that you don't even, it's processing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
When you can begin to harness that and go, okay, I'm enjoying nature. I'm living in the nature right now. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
confident my brain is taking care of things in the background.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole different world,
Mm-hmm.
because now I've got the benefit of the serene, being at my kid's event, enjoying being
Mm-hmm.
there, with that
Mm-hmm.
knowing that when I come back to it, I'm going to be able to take off and go just fine.
Yeah.
And what I think for me personally, and what you probably see in some of your clients, is they think that being away from their work or away from the task is somehow they're not going to get there. They're not enough.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And that knowing, just the calm that it brings from that is so powerful.
Mm. When you say the knowing, what is the knowing though? What are you knowing? What did you learn? What have you learned, Damon? What is the
Belief I'm
knowing?
going to make it. Belief
Yeah.
that I'm going to achieve my goals.
Yeah.
Belief that if I do this the right way, and it's not easy, right? It's
No.
not easy, but belief in my heart that know that, listen, my brain is smart enough, the people around me, the spirituality, you want to talk
Mm-hmm.
about spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
if we're all connected, there's plenty
Mm-hmm.
for us to draw upon to get whatever we
Mm-hmm.
need, if we understand how to use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that belief, but just that knowing that it's going to happen, helps us
Mm-hmm.
to make the right decisions to make things happen. Just like the belief that I'm not enough makes me do those bad things that lead me
Yeah.
right into the same hole. My knowing leads me in the other direction, I think, if I'm trying to explain it some way. But that for me has been the biggest thing that's changed my life.
But what you hear, I mean, the simplicity of it, it sounds so damn cliche. It really is. I believe in myself.
Yeah.
If you were to simplify this, what
Yeah.
I'm hearing you say, basically, I
Yeah.
believe in myself.
I think you're 100% right.
And it's like, and if you come down to the root of what believing in yourself is too, man, it goes back to like what you're not saying, but what you're saying is trust.
Yeah. Yep.
If you trust, what are you trusting in? You
Trusting in
believe in
myself.
yourself.
Yep.
You're trusting. What are you trusting in?
You're going to figure it out. It's going to work.
Correct. And if you were to sum that up, I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. And I've got a friend of mine, Thane Isaacs, I actually see him here a little bit later today. He says one thing. He said, whenever I get into that worry stuff, he said, I stand up and I go, is this really the thing that's going to take me down today? I don't think so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
It's funny, not funny, right? I mean, but
Funny,
like
not
it's so
funny, but
good.
right? How many
Yeah.
times did you got worried about, oh, what's it? What am I going to do? And okay, and look back at that too. The other thing that's helped me a ton is look back at that. How many times did you think that it was the, oh, what am I? And now you can't even remember half of them, right? Or 90% of them, because at the time it was really bad. But now you look back at, so this knowing is part of that too. It's like knowing that. And I was reading something the other day, and it said something about it was, and this is funny because this book is old as heck. It was Norman Vincent Peale, but he was talking about how some people just realize that the problems yield to them. They don't yield to the problems, but they know that the problems will yield to them because they believe in themselves. They believe in themselves and their abilities to let those problems yield and break around them rather than them knock them over. And I think that, some of it is cliche, some of it is, but helping people create a whole life like you do is so powerful, because we just don't, men don't realize it until it's too late a lot of times.
Yeah, and in many ways, not it's I'm gonna say this, not to like, but it's not their fault.
Yeah.
They didn't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and this one thing I love to help men. It's like, it's not your fault that you have this belief about yourself, right? Or this way of being, so to speak. But it is your responsibility. It's your responsibility to figure this out. Now that you have this information and you realize X, whatever it is, okay, man, it's your responsibility to work on this now.
Well, I think too, if anyone's listening to this, they should reach out to you, Pete, and talk, because they owe it not only to themselves, they owe it to their family, their kids, their friends, and their future selves, because it will make the difference.
I would say the majority of the men, what I keep hearing, I would say that like they realize they want to be a better dad.
Yeah.
So if you can't do it for yourself, do it for your kids.
Yes. Yes. So I don't want to get out of here without us talking about what you've got going on, because you said, and we got to have you come back and talk about your TEDx talk. We're going to do that.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll do that. But you got some retreats going on. You got webinars. Let's talk about this. What's happening there? Because I want people to get a hold of you, be able to understand how to connect with you if they need to talk to you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I gave a TEDx talk in March in Vancouver, not too far from you. I did think about you when I was there. And ever since then, man, it was like this whole like I grew from the experience, and including just realizing how important my story and the work I've done and the work I'm doing with men really is. I mean, I spoke in front of 250 people, and a lot of the people came up to me and were like, wow, like, thank you for telling your story. Like it gives me permission to tell my story, and what I realized is a lot of the things I was sharing, a lot of people don't know. And so what I decided to start doing is I'm starting to provide, like emotional fitness master classes, teaching men about shame, teaching men about emotions to help them understand what emotions are and why they're important, teaching them tools and techniques to help them self-regulate their emotions. So I've been doing emotional fitness master classes, which was really cool. I am also creating a new men's mastermind. There's this concept of a business mastermind, right? You join a business mastermind to become a better business owner in a specific area, right? I am creating a what I believe to be the ultimate men's group, but it's going to be structured like a mastermind, in that it's going to be part men's group, part brotherhood, part mastermind. And it's going to be to help men honestly to end loneliness, to end the high achieving men's loneliness, friend epidemic. Like, a lot of men don't have friends. They don't have real connection. They have dealerships, right? They have like a man that is a client, or they help each other, in a in a business sense, and they don't have a man that they can be their true self with. Like they feel like they can't be vulnerable and let down their guard and take the mask off. And that's, I'm going to say this, and I mean it. I mean this. It's actually killing men. Loneliness kills men more than alcohol and smoking combined. We already have that data. And so I'm creating a men's mastermind that's going to help men have not only real connection and real men who are all striving for the same thing, but in that container, I'm going to be teaching them how to be a friend. I'm going to teach them well-being skills. I'm going to teach them emotional regulation skills, self-awareness, empathy, vulnerability. I'm going to teach them the core relationship building skills. So it's going to be a training, it's going to be a teaching, it's going to be a learning, it's going to be this brotherhood where we're going to go on shared adventures. So for example, we're going to do day-long retreats, all in-person stuff too, man. All in. Nice. Then it's also going to help men. Also, what we're going to do is at the end of the year, we're going to do like a rim to rim, like a really epic, tough, physically challenging trip. Because, man, I have gone on so many trips with friends. I am blessed. I have amazing friends. And I have a lot of friends that have told me I'm their best friend. I mean this. I'm not saying this to, like, I have like 5 or 6 men that say I'm their best friend. And I'm like, what? Why me, dude? Like, what the WTF, man? Like, I don't even feel like I do anything.
Yeah.
But I'm so blessed in this regard. And I want to share what I know about helping men feel like they can be themselves. Because when you help someone feel like they can be themselves, that's the path to happiness.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do. Help men have more connection and fun. Let's have fun, dude. Let's go on a trip. Let's do something really hard together. Because that's where bonds are created, man. Through fun and through difficulty. And helping men be better fathers and husbands. Because I think a lot of men, what I notice, when you're successful in business, men are afraid to share their struggling at home because they feel like that's going to negatively impact their business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm creating the space where men can say, enough is enough. I'm done faking it and I'm not okay. And I want other men to hear my story, to listen to me so I can become the best father and create the legacy my heart desires. And we can't do that unless we have relationships where people are gonna hold that space for you, that are not gonna offer advice, they're not gonna judge you, that they're not there because they want something from you. And that's what I want to create, man.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about it. It's starting September 1st. I already got a couple guys that have said yes.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Well, Pete, thanks so much for being here. And I want to make sure, Pete, that people reach out to you on LinkedIn and book a time, talk to you, whatever, if they're interested more in this. And if you haven't gone to his LinkedIn profile, go there, check out. He's got these events that he's at, webinars and other things, so you can connect with him and see if maybe he's someone that you want to get to know a little bit better. Pete, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Appreciate it. Well, I want to thank Random Rick Reviews for stopping by today, and everyone else that was listening. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We see that you're watching these things. I see we've got a fair amount of people on the X platform and other ones on here today. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back again next week with another awesome guest. Pete, hang out. We will finish up offline.